Okay.
Yeah, but we need to speak. Dave, you can sit down. Come on, we're all friendly here. So I'm going to facilitate the conversation. I think Josh already kind of gave an introduction. So I'm Cornell, well, I was on the other page, and I'm 1/3 of Normette Homes. I've got a brilliant panelist here today, and they all kind of cover a diverse area within property. So we're all going to be able to take something away from this conversation that we can obviously take away to our businesses, and hopefully we can kind of carry on the conversation throughout tonight, but more so throughout the year and looking into next year. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the panelists. So we've got Mike Page here, wave.
Hello.
We've got Dave Jones here.
How you doing?
We've got Shayla Patel here. We've got Faith Locken. And then we've got Max Gorgie. All right, so what we're gonna do is I'm going to first ask you guys to just explain who you are, what you do, and what perspective you're willing to give the audience today as part of this panel discussion. If I can start with Shayla, if you don't mind.
Seems a bit fine. Okay. I'm quite good at shouting, so I might not need this. Shailesh Patel, I'm the founder of an organisation. It's a social property agency. We give out rent-free space for charities, and the kind of gasp moment is, oh wow, I didn't even know that was a thing. There's very few of us that do this, but basically the pitch for a landlord is, if you have an empty commercial building, it's cheaper to give it to us, for us to give to a charity completely free of charge, rather than leave it empty. Because you'll save at least 50% on the empty rates costs you're incurring. Your insurance company will be happier because insurers hate empty buildings. So again, that premium will come down by 50%. And you've got the ability to terminate this arrangement with a month's notice at any time. So it's kind of like, what have you got to lose by helping a charity and saving yourself some money at the same time? And so as I say, it's kind of, wow, I didn't know that was a thing. And that's kind of what we do all day long in London, outside London, everything from a 100,000 square foot warehouse in Gateshead. If you know any charities up there, let me know. And also, we're on our 5th shop in Fleet Street, which before COVID, we never thought we'd be on Fleet Street. But that's what we do. So we do good things all day long.
Thank you, Shayla. Over to you, David, if you don't mind.
There you go.
Hi, my name's David Jones. I'm a founder of Stamp Architects. So I've sort of born out of many years in industry through other companies. I've worked throughout the UK. So through COVID, it was the sort of leap of faith that every architect has in their career, whereby I want to do it alone. So now I've done that. I'm sort of 3 years in, and we're sort of looking at anything from like a residential, commercial, sort of fit out, new builds. We sort of focus on sustainability is quite a sort of big thing in our world, whereby we're trying to take the step from just the norm, or that is good enough that we seem to build these days, and we want to try and push that further and make sort of dwellings, properties better for everyone, because at the end of the day, everyone uses a house, an office, for a place of work, through living. So that's what we do.
Amazing. If you don't mind passing it to Mike, we can hear from you. Mike, here.
Oh.
There you go.
Sorry.
So Mike Page, 25 years in banking. Last year decided to go self-employed onto the dark side, set up my own finance brokering business, thinking it would be the best time to do it, and headwind after headwind 18 months later, and it's probably the hardest year that I've known in all my years of banking, completely honest, but we're still here, which is a good start. So hopefully do it in this market, we can do it in any. The reason I went on my own was I wanted to do brokering a little bit differently, and that's a big relationship side of things. Working with clients closely, being there through the start to the end of the project, and being able to give advice on structuring, not just getting them the cheapest deal possible.
Very honest from you, Mike. If you don't mind passing it to Faith.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name's Faith Locken. Sorry, I just had to. Don't worry. it reads Locken, but it's Lochken. I am an entrepreneur and non-executive director. I'm the founder of two businesses. We Rise In is our professional training and development business, and Rise Members Club is our members club for professionals, entrepreneurs and creatives. We'll be launching our first space in spring 2026. My background, I'm a chartered commercial surveyor by background, by trade, for my sins. Spent over a decade in industry. I've done everything from investment, valuation, development, everything essentially, and then bought and sold buildings in the city, and then it got to a point where I was seeing a lack of, I guess, progression in amongst my diverse peers, and so I've always been the kind of create the solution to the problem. So launched We Rise In. It was only really meant to be an initiative. Then it turned into a fully fledged business, for which we've just won an award last night at Property Week. Thank you. That's what we do, and we're launching, and we're looking for space actually. So I might need to speak to you, Shailesh, after this. That's what I do.
Thank you, Faith.
Hi everyone, I'm Max Gorgie. Well done on the pronunciation, Cornel. Most people butcher my last name.
I had to get at least one of them right.
I work for a company called Estate Office. So we're an investment development agency based in St. John's Wood. The easiest way I can kind of explain what that is similar to a traditional estate agency, but rather than selling homes and flats, we deal with kind of commercial investments, but also residential blocks. So it will normally be on the investment side, resi blocks, but similarly on the development side, it could be permitted development opportunities, land, and so forth.
Thank you. Okay, so as you can see, we've got 5 distinct voices, and I think it's going to be like a really good discussion to kind of delve into a bit more details of kind of what you guys have experienced this year, and what I think would be really good to start off with is maybe something that's been quite challenging for you this year, and then maybe something that has been positive that you want to kind of share with the audience that you can take away. Faith, if you don't mind.
Should have left it with you. So one negative, one positive?
Yes.
I guess certainly what I'm currently seeing, so looking for space, trying to find space that meets our requirements in London, with landlords that are, I guess, socially conscious, has been difficult. I did not know your company existed until literally today. That's been challenging, I guess. We tried to broker a deal with Landsec earlier in the year, but Landsec as a business, if you know them, they're a huge commercial landlord. They're doing a lot more residential. So the deal that we were trying to strike, it wasn't working. The terms weren't working. I decided to step away from that. It took quite a lot to do that because it took us about 6 months to get to the place where we were about to sign the lease. But I had a really good mentor, Johnny Rosenblatt, who runs Space Made, it's a big co-working business. And so I spoke to him and he was like, if it doesn't feel right, don't go for it. We didn't. 3 months later, they sold the building to JP Morgan. So I was like, okay, that's why it wasn't working. It's been challenging in that respect. But if anything, it's been helpful because it's meant that we kind of know what we want now more than we did a year ago, and we're kind of refining our requirements. I've met a lot of people along the way who are kind of supported us, helping us find that space. Positive side, I think it's the connections, it's the people that we've met. Everyone is really invested in seeing this come to light. Rise Members Club, for me, was born out of not seeing something that brought together professionals, entrepreneurs and creatives. I've got quite a big network professionally, and I've got a lot of friends in the creative space, and often I would get, my friends who are actors saying, I've come into money, I want to buy a property. I'm the person that they know in real estate, and I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to help you. But actually, if I could connect you to someone who's going to serve you better, I'd love to be able to do that. And so I kind of want to do that on a bigger scale. And so I see Rise being that space and that platform for us to connect in that way. So, yeah.
Thank you, Faith. I think the person that will probably be good to pass on to will be like Mike Page, because given what you're trying to do, you're going to need to scale, and I think funding is going to be a big aspect of that. It would be great to hear your thoughts, Mike, on funding, development, and what was the pros, the cons? I know you started off with a very honest assessment, but if you can kind of delve into that in a bit more detail, please.
I think the biggest challenge is the whole market funding appraisal as a whole. And first of all, you've got the planning issues, which we discussed earlier, and things are just taking forever to get through planning, and local parish councils get involved in planning decisions and all of these sorts of things. But the actual funding and finding schemes that work and stack up is probably the hardest thing at the moment. It's never been known that construction costs have ever been so high. Finance costs are always high. Your GDVs have probably stagnated as well, and probably reduced by 5-10% as well at the same time. But then you're then talking to landowners, but the landowners don't have to sell, so they're happy to stick at the price they've got, and so the transactions just aren't going through. And I think that's the problem we've had over the start of the years. There's just not many transactions going through because deals don't stack up, and I think that's the hardest thing at the moment we've had in the last year.
Anything positive to share, like anything
mean,
that you're proud of from this year?
I mean, funders out there are mad keen to lend money. There's money in the market. They all want to lend money. They're all banging my door down. What deals have you got? We want to lend money.
Both from an equity and a debt perspective?
Mostly debt. Equity is really difficult at the moment. Just because of the risks in the market, the equity guys are getting probably a decent return on their sort of bonds and stuff in the market. So do they really want to take the risk of coming into property development with all those headwinds that are there? And I think the equity market has diminished quite a lot. But I think that will come back once, hopefully, interest rates start coming down. They won't get the return, so they'll be looking at alternatives. And property is still going to be the safest place to put their money at the end of the day. We just need to see some levelling out, really. Positives for me, I mean, from my side of things, I've still managed to do probably, 20-25 million of funding this year in a difficult market. So it's just getting that relationships and getting them to trust you. And there is deals out there, and people want to do stuff. I think that's the difference from this year to last year, is developers, investors, they want to be doing stuff. It's just difficult.
Yeah, that's fair. Understand that. It would be good to hear, David, from your perspective, if any of what Mike is saying has also impacted you from an architectural point of view.
Yes.
But yeah, if you can just give an overview of something negative and positive.
So over the last probably 15, 18 months, from what Mike was touching on, was planning is probably my biggest headache in my world, or in the construction world, is that I spend an infinite amount of time creating the plan applications, because they want every single type of piece of information to the millimetre, to the specification, whatever it is. And then throughout the planning journey, you find that they have lots and lots of sticking points. It's like you continuously jump through hoops to go to the next bit, and then they sort of dangle a carrot and say, well, if you tweak this or do this, but then you're going against what you set out to do, what your client's aspirations are, whether it's a listed building. I've been dealing with a big office space in Manchester, which is a grade 2 star listed building, and it was a Bruntwood owned building, which is a big landlord, and we were taking 2 stories of office spaces, not made my client room, and it's taken us 5 months just to do a 12-week listed building application, and they were sort of dictating every single aspect of our design. So that slows the whole process. It costs us as architects a lot of money, because if you can't factor that in to the price, because you won't get the job, or it's that very fine balance between the client sort of front end costs to then obviously the realistic, what the true cost of that application is going to be. So that's what I find very difficult.
Yeah.
Even if it's a small extension, it can be a tiny, 75 grand extension, and it will still get the same amount of headache as if it was a big office space. So.
I understand. Has there been anything you've taken away from this year that you...
I suppose learning, I
positive?
managed to get the positive outcomes on each scenario and each application. We got the application through. So it's trying to learn from that sort of process and try and factor that in, make the client aware from the very outset. I think that's what we're having to do, is take that experience and just say it might cost you a lot more money front end to get this application through than it would have been normally 10 years ago maybe. So there seems to be a lot more red tape now.
I think it'd be good to pass on to Max to hear your perspective on this. I think you can probably touch on from what David said.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that particularly with what we found this past year is that on the development side of things, which is similar to kind of what Mike touched on as well, it's been a lot harder to shift these types of opportunities. I think we do have a lot of developers, buyers who are very keen on acquiring these types of assets, but ultimately, and this is kind of one of the challenges that I've faced this year, is actually bridging the gap between what kind of buyers' expectations and vendors' expectations are. And I think particularly with development opportunities, where we're in this kind of like perfect storm of kind of high borrowing costs, high cost of construction, and even when you're looking at finishing and building these flats, in terms of reselling them on the open market, there isn't that same appetite that there was, at the beginning of, maybe just after COVID. So it's really challenging on, the development side. Conversely, what I'm finding is on the investment side of things, there is still a lot of appetite. And, there's a lot of, non-property professionals who are still looking to, diversify their portfolio, and invest it in some long-term commercial investments, or even some residential blocks that I've got let to a single tenant on like a 15-year lease. So I think the way I look at this year, and I feel like it will be shared among a lot of the people on this panel, is that perseverance is a great word to use, and I think I'm sure we'll be the same through next year as well.
Love that. Shailesh, do you want to wrap up on your side?
I think perseverance, and I think honesty is the thing that I've seen and also not seen. So just coming back to your story, we went into Notting Hill, nice block. Well, actually, it's an ugly office, but it's now a nice block of flats right above the station. And we were, I think it was around COVID. The landlord said to us, "I've already got my planning permission, but we're tweaking it, so you'll be here for about 9 months." And I was like, "Fine. That's great. Thanks for that." We left 4.5 years later. It's just, I think honesty is required at every level. And sometimes they need to be able to listen. Because you might say to them, "Mate, this is Notting Hill. This is Kensington Council. You're not going to get any planning tweaks that quickly." And they won't want to hear that. And so this has its knock-on effects. So, and then a similar story in terms of the dark side of my world.
Yeah.
And again, the lack of honesty. There's people who are putting farms, snail farms, in offices in central London and saying, "This is an agricultural space. I don't have to pay business rates." And so don't be surprised. This is my honesty bit now. Don't be surprised to see some hard moves by Rachel Reeves in a couple of weeks to say, if you do anything vaguely like that, I'm coming down on you like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
So we all need to be better at calling out bad habits.
Yeah.
And we also need to make sure to expect the hard position that's probably coming on that front. Having said that,
Positive.
if you're genuine, you will be able to do things better, because all the shady players will have to literally disappear. So if you're doing things properly, it will work out quite well.
Yeah, I was going to say, as Faith sort of touched on earlier on, I think not a lot of people kind of know about the sort of stuff that you're doing.
Yeah.
How have you kind of found that running a business and trying to kind of bring what you do to light, marketing, convince people that there is a way to
Do things
socially?
Yeah. It's why I'm here on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Because there's not many people that know, and this is just another example of that. And because they're surrounded by people who sometimes don't give out the full position. So one really lovely story, and again, this comes back to your architecture and planning consultants world. A planning consultant came looking for us saying, "We've bought this very ugly 20,000 square foot office from Bromley Council." I think this is the story I told you and Josh when I first met you. But we are going to get hit with a £750,000 SIL liability if we build these flats right now. So although the planning and everything would be smooth, that makes that project unviable, just that one cost alone.
Yeah.
However, if you read the legislation on tax breaks, and remember this is a tax break, this is a nice thing, which is a rare thing coming from the taxman. if a building is used for 6 months in the 3 years leading up to refurbishment, you'll be exempt from SIL completely, which across 72 flats, 750,000, that was 10 grand a flat. And that was the difference between,
That's the margins.
it wasn't viable, but now it is.
Yeah.
So we need commercial finance guys to know and understand, look at the spreadsheet and question every single line. Okay, fine, the concrete's going to cost whatever concrete costs. But there's some things where you need to have the knowledge and the context to know, actually, you know what, if I can get out of that £750,000 SIL liability legitimately, then that's great. It makes this project come back to life. So you've got to grow your awareness, basically. So definitely keep coming to things like this.
Yeah, appreciate that. I wanted to move on to, I guess we talked about this year, but I think there's so much to be excited about next year, because when there's problems, I think there's always people that are looking for solutions and way to problem solve. So I guess if we stick to you, Shayla, it's like how, I know you kind of touched on it a little bit in terms of just people being aware of this, but what are your views on 2026 and what you're excited about?
I think if you go in with the mind of, how many of you guys come across ESG or CSR? I'm not into the 3-letter acronyms too much, but those two are massive. If you go in with the pitch of, this is why I normally refer to Charlene as well. She's not an ordinary interior designer. I get that from my son because he works at Marks & Spencer. She's no ordinary sandwich. She's an interior designer that understands well-being. So like, if I want her to come into my house, rather than just an average interior designer, it's like, no, how are you going to make my life better? And so if you're looking at a project, look at it from the side of not just the financials, but just like, what are we doing differently that's better for society and the community around us? So I think it was in March, Rachel Reeves and crew issued an interim report on business rates. And the very last paragraph on the front page in the forward was, we're 100% behind supporting communities and high streets, which is why they are going to go out of their way to keep retail, leisure, hospitality, and all the rates reliefs and all that support will probably be one of the things that they will carry on doing. They may even enhance it because they're into that. So if we all look at that in the same light as to what are we doing with our rundown high streets, that we can bring these back to life. Bring the NHS surgery onto the high street where Debenhams was, and all of the extra pharmacies and all. Bring all that into the high street, whereas previously it would have been tucked away somewhere because they couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And now it's like, you need the people to come to you, go to see the GP, get their pharmacy medicine, and have a coffee, and then go bowling, or whatever it is they're going to do. So things are very different. So you kind of have to keep that mindset a bit wider. Sorry, I'm hogging the mic.
No, I was going to pass on to Faith. I mean, like, or go bowling or go to your members club. Like, is there any opportunities here? Like, what do you see in 2026?
I mean, what I'm seeing anyway, certainly from our members, our community, our network, people want curated experiences. You know, I think when I look at the kind of flex workspace, gone are the days that people just want an office to come in, work and go. Like, if you're coming into central London particularly, people want somewhere where they can connect, they can have a bit of community and have events and experiences that sort of connect people, right? So that's where I see the biggest opportunities. And then where there is empty space, and funnily enough, some of the conversations I've had to date, you know, we were able to, we didn't go through with it, but with Landsec, that was going to be a rent-free deal, for example. So there are landlords who need either that tax break or are really socially conscious and focused. And a lot of these big commercial landlords have affordable workspace requirements through planning. So there are opportunities there, but it's having the knowledge and the understanding, and then I guess the gumption to kind of put yourself forward and ask. Yeah.
Love that. Anything else for you, 2026?
I mean, I'm excited to launch the first space. Yeah,
Love
that's what I'm excited about. And then I guess in some of my other roles, I sit on a few boards, and I mean, it has been very to the point you were making, and from a development perspective. it's been tricky, and particularly housing. I don't know if anyone knows the housing association or the housing sector from sort of I guess a not-for-profit association. It's been really, really difficult. The regulator has been putting so much regulation that, we've kind of basically stopped developing, which doesn't make sense because we're trying to build affordable housing, right? So I think there's opportunity to be had there from an asset management perspective, and trying to, I guess, hit that kind of net carbon zero. So yeah, I'm excited to kind of see how we traverse these very difficult headwinds that we're facing at the moment. Yeah.
No, thank you, Faith. Max, if you want to kind of give us your insight, 2026, what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I think, look, obviously you've got Rachel Reeves' budget in the coming weeks, and I think that's going to play a very significant tell into kind of what next year is going to look like. And I think hopefully we'll provide a little bit of stability and kind of, assurance to kind of, what's going to be is going to be. I think, for 2026, I think, I'm just looking forward to kind of more opportunities. I think definitely kind of with, if you had to ask me if the market's going to get worse or better next year, I think I'd have to unfortunately say the former. But with that, and this goes back to kind of perseverance, you've got to work with kind of the market you're in. And I think with that, I think, there will come opportunities. So I think that's what we're going to be focusing on and what I'm looking forward to.
I appreciate that. Dave?
Thank you very much. I think just going on from what these guys are saying is that I think from an architecture and a construction background, obviously there's the consensus that Labour, we need to build so many more houses, and and there's been lots of large developers going full guns at big pockets of land throughout Britain. But I think from my point of view, I want to do things better, maybe challenge local councils. Like I deal with Cheshire and Manchester Council all the time, and sort of look at where they've originally pushed back on a piece of land and actually challenge them, like, actually, let's look at this and actually challenge them, because there's lots more arguments about self-builds and things like that as an angle on developing on a greenfield site. And obviously everyone hears greenfield thinking it's a lovely open bit of countryside, whereby this bit of land, which is near my house,
Greenbelt.
It's a scruffy, it's been a dumping ground, there's been tractors on it and all sorts of things over the years. But on paper, they'll say, well, it's a greenfield site. But in reality, it's not big enough for agriculture. It's not big enough for land use and, rearing cattle, etc. And actually, let's utilise it, because it's not going to have a negative impact on the area. It's going to have a positive impact.
Yeah.
So it's trying to make these councils, and really challenge them is what my ethos going forward is. Because I think we can make better houses, and it obviously impacts on everyone's lives better. The people who are living in these houses better.
Yeah, I think it'll be good to see what the government does in terms of the greenfield and brownfield sites, and see how we can actually utilise the spaces better and build.
Because there's an awful lot of red tape. Awful lot of red tape. That's just barriers.
Yeah. Mike, 2026, something positive.
Yeah, I think the new build's going to struggle still. I think the new build, well, I can see there being some opportunities. Some of the funders will probably start releasing some of the sites they've taken over the couple of years that they're still holding on to. They can't hold, so I think there'll be some sort of liquidation assets coming to market from that side of things. I also think there's obviously what you mean by disused buildings and repurposing them. And I think there's probably, we went through a spate probably about 8 years ago where there was a big office conversion, and then that kind of finished. I'd like to think next year we might see some more PD opportunities as well, which will stack up. Whereas I think it's the new build that's still going to struggle from that side of things, the ground ups. But yeah, I think that's where the opportunity arises. For me personally, I'm just excited to try and grow my client base, to be honest, and help those clients out with what they want to do.
Love that. If we stick with you, one of the questions I wanted to ask everyone, because I come from an IT background originally, was for your business and I guess your industry from a finance point of view, is there any way or any opportunities to use tech, use AI that can can be leveraged to get more deals over the line, to help you balance the books, find things out, anything that you can take away from that?
I guess from my perspective, from a broker perspective, it's quite difficult because it's all relationship driven. And it's knowledge that I've built up over the years. So AI, from my perspective as a broker, is quite difficult to bring that in. From a funder perspective, I think some funders are starting to use AI in the background more with regard to what's on the market in certain areas, and they can build that quite quickly. I can't see them using AI for credit decisions and things like that, unless it's bog standard sort of mortgages and things like that. But anything that's a little bit complicated, it's a development, forget it. You're never going to use AI for development, credit decisions. But yeah, it's a bit of an anomaly in the lending world, I would say.
Okay, fair play. Dave, your perspective?
Yeah, in the world of construction, there is quite a lot of things that are happening with AI that obviously can help with your sort of your fee and your, help you save time. There's things that, obviously there's the sort of program, there's your admin management, AI, can manage your calendars, can manage your emails and all sorts of things like that. So, and also through to sort of rendering, you can, in days gone by, you used to have to go to an external renderer who would then, you give them their 3D model, tell them the sort of aesthetics of your proposals, they'll come back with a lovely glossy image. Now, AI has moved a hell of a lot, even in the last 6 months, that I can produce a glossy image in maybe an hour if I've already got the 3D model, so it can help me save a lot of time, can help with visualizing with the client about the space and drawing them in and getting the deal over the line if they were sort of, at early stages a bit unsure about the proposal. So yeah, AI has started.
And you're
to help
pro,
me.
or are you kind of like skeptical with using it?
I wouldn't use it for design in terms of your layouts and problem solving, and I think you still need that human interaction, because that's that interaction with your client, taking on board their ideas and things like that. So I don't think AI could help with that, but certainly production-wise, it can certainly help.
Got it. Shailis?
Yeah, similar theme. I think the back end, as I will call it, all the internal operations can get a lot better, and that will hopefully free up more time for you to be better at the important stuff, the shaking of the hand and all that kind of thing. So, for example, I get so many phone calls from charities, like, what, are you seriously giving out free space? And I can't take all the calls. It's got to that point. So I found something called Synthesia the other day, and it basically, all I need to do is say the script onto some app, send that, it will write it down for me, send that to this website, and they will make I think I've got a choice of 8 different human faces.
Yep.
And that will be them explaining when you should work with us as a charity, what benefits there are and what are the problems. And I'm sitting there thinking, that saves me 3 weeks of sweating about, shit, someone's going to put me in front of a camera and I'm going to balls this up. Right through to just deliver it.
Yeah.
And it takes stress out of my head, and it's something that the charities can look at 10 o'clock at night if they want to, because I didn't pick up their call.
Yeah. What's that called again?
Synthesia or something. Young people will probably know it. I saw some ad for it the other day. But there's loads of things like that. There's one that will draft emails for you. And most of my emails, if I look back at them, like, it's the same answer. Here's the quote. And charity, here's a reminder of the things that you're going to sign up for. All that, so that will free up huge amounts of time. And then on the other side, we've started getting, I'm not sure how. This is my SEO guys really good. We're getting recognized better in, like if someone does a Google search for how to reduce my empty rates costs, which is really specific. But we come up as like an AI generated answer. Oh, wow. Your options include snail farms, all that dodgy stuff. But you should talk to A-Stop because they work with the charity sector. I was like, wow, I didn't know.
That's amazing.
Wow, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
So it's just like you've opened your mind and kind of get someone else. And this is what I was told on this course. Employ a young person, because for them, they were brought up with this. This is normal.
Born with it.
So like, my kids say to me, why are you phoning people when you could just text them?
Yeah.
And I'm like the exact opposite of, no, I want to talk to them. But this for them is just like, why are you not using AI? So sometimes old folk need input from young folk.
I agree.
And that will accelerate things.
That's amazing. Faith?
I think there's, huge opportunities in AI, but what I'm seeing, it's almost like there's two sides to the story. So in my own business, I'm all for it. I'm like, if I can automate, do that first. So automate, delegate, and then do if I have to do it myself. But then what I'm seeing with some of our clients, some of these large commercial landlords, there's so much, I guess, governance and red tape that even signing on or agreeing to sign off on some kind of AI tool, it's got to go through all these different layers. So I think the opportunity really is for kind of these smaller, maybe startups
SMEs,
or SMEs, anyone that can be, nimble and flexible. I believe that's where the opportunities lie. So yeah, if you're a small business, see what you can do with AI, and then try
in particular that you're using that.
So we use Google Workspace for our systems, and Google, it's like every week I feel like it's introducing a new thing. So I log on to my emails and it's started auto replying or suggested replies to emails, and I'm like, great, okay, send that, you know. And they've also got Google Vids or something. So basically you can create like avatars with these videos, and then the avatar can do the work for you.
That was the word I was looking for. Couldn't remember.
Yeah. And so yes, I'm like trialing it through Google, and then ChatGPT is like my best friend. We're like that. So yeah, those are the two main ones that I'm using, but I'm looking to explore. So I might try this synthesis. Yeah.
Thank you, Faith. Max?
So I would agree ChatGPT is also my best friend. But I think short term, from an agent's perspective, I would say that it's making you more efficient, just in your kind of daily tasks. I think the next step would be data collection, which I think can be very powerful. And then on a long-term perspective, can an AI replace an agent completely? I think that's a long way away, but because I think a big part of being an agent, and I think what kind of gives me assurance that I'm not going to be replaced by AI is, the human trust and touch. And so I think, an AI can do a better job than an agent on the surface of it, but I think it's got a long way to go, and particularly to kind of build trust from the people who are in control and own the assets.
No, I love that. If you stick with you, Max, if you've got any closing statements that you just want to wrap up, 30 seconds, and we'll pass it around the room, and then we'll get a few questions from the room if we have, and then we'll close the panel.
Sure, yeah. I guess kind of from what I've discussed today, I think obviously everyone can agree that, we're in a difficult time at the moment, but I think we're all kind of excited and looking forward to next year and, persevering. So, if anyone's got any, gets in touch with me after, feel free to, give me a call.
Thanks, Max.
I'd 100% agree on that. It's perseverance. And I know we're in difficult times at the moment, but start now. I feel like there's never a right time. You can't really time the market to a degree in property. But if you start now, make sure you obviously assess your risks and have your own risk appetite, and just go for it. And get involved and, innovate. Speak to people, connect. Property is a people business. That's why I love it so much. So, your next business partner or client could be in this room.
Are you taking any new memberships, or are you full?
No. Yes. We do have a waiting list. Well, not a waiting list, but we have a membership application. So risemembersclub.com, and, join the mailing list.
Thank you, Faith.
I've got two quick ones. Triple bottom line: people, profit, planet, otherwise known as social, economic, and environmental governance areas. So try and bring into whatever it is you're presenting, bring in the social side and bring in the environmental side as well. It will help you stand out, because the economics are the difficult bit, just as you said. And the other one is, as I mentioned it to someone earlier on, the true meaning of the word luck is about location, understanding, connections, and knowledge. So location, you need to be in places like this to meet people. You need to understand and learn things about other people and what their dilemmas and issues are. Connections are, you need to be connected to people. And then knowledge, you need to know your shit, to be honest with you. There's no point having all of that other stuff if you don't know your field. Yeah. So keep that in mind, and always be open to learning about what other people are having to face, because then that will probably help you get in the head of your potential clients as well.
Thank you, Shailesh. Dave?
I think I'll just expand on what you were saying, is that obviously in terms of our field, the construction field, is, I suppose, environmental and well-being and sustainability is starting to be is an very important part, and it shouldn't just be a bolt-on at the back end of a project. It should sort of, be at the heart of a project. Doesn't matter if it's a small, one-off house or an extension or an office block. It's human interaction, and everyone uses these spaces on a daily basis. So that's one aspect, and the other aspect is challenge. And obviously, in the field of planning, which I've said in the past, there's lots of blockers, and I'm sort of saying, well, let's not just take the norm and the typical answer as a no. It's trying to challenge, because you're never going to know if you don't challenge. So that's my ethos about,
Love that.
if you think you're going to get a no, but why? Let's look at a different angle. Pursue it.
Thank you. Mike, close us off.
Yeah, I think in the market we're in, I think relationships is a big thing. How can we all help each other? Whether that's a developer surrounding them with the right professionals to give them the advice, whether that's an agent that's got a client that needs funding, whether that's an architect that needs just some advice on some stuff. We're all in it together, and I think that's the thing. We're here to help each other, really. And yeah, if anyone wants to talk to me afterwards about some funding
some
or
deals,
some advice or structure, I always offer free advice. It's there. You offer free advice and you provide the right advice. It might be 6 months later, someone might come back to you and they've got something, but it's about doing what you can to help people in the day.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Can everyone give a... Wanted to put it around the room. If anyone's got any questions, now's the time. We'll take, let's say, 2 or 3 questions from the audience.
You have good questions. You have good questions yourself.
Anyone?
I've got a question for David, actually. So I'm kind of like, and I bow to your knowledge, but things like the government, I thought, were loosening up regulation in terms of brownfield development and airspace development and things like that. But it seems, from what you're saying, it's actually still incredibly challenging dealing with local authorities and planning.
Yeah, I feel like it doesn't matter what it is. I still feel that there's a feel of no is their default answer to any application, and you really have to dig deep to convey an argument to why you should have that application, that development or whatever it is. And in the news, you hear, we've got to build all these houses, and we've got to build lots of social housing, all sorts of different types, and it should be yes, and
As the default.
yeah, and then obviously no if there is some real big, environmental issue or whatever that is. So it always seems to is stacked up against you in your favour, I find.
Is that, do you think, because of just the traditional mindset of
Yeah.
planning committees and things like that?
I mean, I've had, even on the smallest of sites, they don't really take an application seriously. So a case officer comes and gets assigned your case, and we were taking down a conservatory, building on the same footprint, shouldn't really be that much of an issue. And then they came back and said, oh, it's going to be a huge impact. I said, well, it's on the same footprint. Well, I can see on Google, I can see that it's going to be a big impact on the surroundings. Well, if you've been to site, there's a 12-foot high hedge down the side of the house and you can't see it from the road. So it's that sort of thing where they don't seem to properly take your application seriously or have that devoted time to your application.
Yeah. Does that include when you do put in pre-applications as well?
I don't really find that pre-app has much of a value to it, because they take a huge fee for a development of X amount of pounds per house or per square footage for a commercial space. So I've known a lot of case officers in the Manchester Council and stuff, and I actually send them. I don't go through pre-app and just actually go directly to them and say, as an informal. And they do sometimes give me a response, so they help me without spending an awful lot of money.
9,000-10,000.
And a lot of time.
Yeah.
Do you think, I was at a conference last week and there was some quite interesting to say about AI.
Yeah.
One of the areas that seemed to be targeted and there seems to be a lot of thought could streamline
as in the planning process, because it's quite binary actually when you look at the legislation and run through it. You can get to a point where actually it is a pro whatever the decision is based on the legislation, then you can take it that next step within.
I would say yes and no. I'd say from a planning framework, national, local policies, yes, there are, they can recite, AI can recite, you need this, this and this, and you've got to demonstrate, different criteria to meet those policies. But then obviously there's quite a few grey sort of areas in planning that AI may not sort of pick up on, which could be an avenue for builds, like self-build for instance. Like I'm finding that a lot more plots on greenfield sites going down the self-build route.
But would AI not pick that up?
Over time with machine learning?
They would just see national framework, national policy, that sort of thing, which they can pull off. They can just pull that out of Google, but they don't necessarily see avenues whereby you could exploit maybe.
Is there any other questions, non-planning related? So architect, we've answered a lot, Dave.
I was just going to say, just on for the developers in the room, or people that are looking for that kind of support around planning. Sorry. It's just a quick one to plug a friend's app, iCartect by David Ajayi. So he's created an AI tool that developers can feed their application into, and they can get a response as to whether that application would almost get like that pre-approval. But that's on the developer side rather than the council side. If that helps, so go and explore. Yeah. iCartect, AI. It's like architect, but AI instead of Yeah.
Cool. Any more questions, or should we close it? Anyone? Thank you, everyone. Oh wait, there's one more. Go for it.
The later one. Sorry, just wanted to ask around the charity and the property that you're doing. Are there any specific charities that you're looking to work with? What are the key areas you're looking to really invest time in? Because I'm guessing there's a lot of demand for what you do, but very limited supply. So what is your go-to area for 2026?
Okay, we're working more with councils, which is really bizarre. So councils have huge estates departments, and historically they're like, we can't be seen to be avoiding business rates. But they've been given the remit of, you need to act more like a commercial landlord, but don't do dumb stuff like farms. So we've got Watford Council is now our biggest client. They've given us 120,000 square foot of nice office space. And this is their own view on it. They said, even if we have an amazing 2025, because we worked with them since January, February, even if it's absolutely amazing, and we rent out everything we hope to rent out, we'll still be left with 120,000 square feet of office space because the market's changed, COVID, all that sort of stuff. So they've literally handed that over to us, but on the basis that they can have it back whenever they want. So councils are becoming clients of ours as well because they've got the social conscious. So I think it was raised earlier on, try and get your social conscious minds of your clients pricked, because then you've got something better to do for them. And in terms of the types of charities, it varies greatly. We've got food banks who need to be on the ground floor and they can wheel a pallet in and out of our building. So we're in the back end of Southside Shopping Centre in Wandsworth, etc., etc. Books, clothes, all that sort of stuff. But we're also going to the right other extreme. If you imagine this, a lady suffering from domestic violence, she's going to not walk out on her husband in one visit. She's going to need her confidence to be built up over a few trips. And there's charities out there who will help ladies like that. And they will say, look, here's a mobile phone. Speak to us whenever you want and come to this address. There'll be no signs on this building because it needs to be discreet, because sometimes they may get followed and all that kind of stuff as well. It's deep what you have to think about. And all they want is a small office, and it might be sitting above Fenchurch Street train station, and on some asset manager spreadsheet, he's sitting there looking, oh, that unit's a right pain in the arse. I haven't been able to rent it. Yet that same space, we can wipe out at least half of the empty building costs, and you've probably saved 5 to 10 lives a year.
Amazing.
So there is no limit to the types of charities that we want to help. And then it's just all about, the more landlords know about us, the more people we can help. The range is huge. So, come to us with anything, basically.
Thank you, Shailesh. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, yes, sir.
There we go. So obviously, thank you for our panelists. Cornell, thank you for hosting. So that wraps up the panel discussion. We do have the room for the next couple of hours, but feel free to mingle, continue to connect with people. Tonight wasn't about doom and gloom. It was about thinking what we can collaborate in 2026, how we can think ahead, how we can actually work together better. If you haven't spoken to someone, speak to them. Some people don't have name badges. Put your name on your chest, please. It's a bit more easier to approach people that way. Tonight's about connecting, and enjoy the evening, enjoy your drinks, and thank you for coming.
Thanks, Josh. Cheers, mate. Mike.